Hey everyone, so I'm back with another Pretty Little Liars video, which is, again, what this channel has become the last several videos, and I haven't posted in a while. It's one of my resolutions, as it is every year, to keep up with this channel more, and I will be going to IMATS in a little over a week, so you'll be getting some more videos on that and everything. I'm going to be vlogging while I'm there, which will go up on this channel too. But let's talk about Pretty Little Liars, because I usually wouldn't do a video to recap a show or anything like that, but Pretty Little Liars is different because the show is so full of clues, the show is so full of different storylines, things that you may not pick up on, things that people kind of take in different ways. So I think it's kind of fun to share and to kind of let you guys know my thoughts on what I think is happening, because it's very interesting. So I was live tweeting during the show last night, which I love doing because, again, it's one of those shows that is like, you know, did you see that? Well, you know, what are you guys looking for in this episode? Or, oh, you know, and it's just a lot of like discussion, a lot of figuring things out, and it was just really fun. So the way that last season, or maybe the last mid-season ended, like I say, they sometimes will do mid-season finales, go on hiatus. I believe that's what happened this year. Anyways, regardless, it was a premiere of sorts, and what had happened was at the end of, you know, the last season it went off. It was off for about a month or two, and then Halloween rolled around and they did the Halloween episode where they went on the Halloween train, had the party and all that. And in that episode a lot happened. I'm not going to recap all that because I did that in my previous video. But since yesterday they did a Pretty Little Liars marathon all day, I basically caught bits and pieces of it, and right before the new episode aired, I watched the Halloween episode, which was interesting because it kind of was fresh on my mind. It helped me kind of remember, you know, things to look for and all that. So one of the major things that I was looking for in this episode that was like the biggest on my mind was someone with a stab wound. If you remember in the Halloween train, someone had drugged Aria. They put her in a box and they were going to push her out of the train. And meanwhile, you know, she was in there. She had a, I guess there was like a screwdriver or something that was in there with her, and she stabbed up through the thing and stabbed one of the people that was trying to push her over. So I'm thinking if you see someone with a stab wound, they're bad because they were trying to kill Aria, basically. So that's what I went in looking for. And the episode itself kind of began with a person skateboarding down the street in a hoodie, which looked like one of the bad people. They're always in hoodies. You know, isn't that always the way? And, you know, you see what appears to be, I guess, a black Tahoe coming down the street, chasing after the skateboarder, and ends up running the skateboarder kind of off the road, and the skateboarder falls down, all this. You still don't know who the skateboarder is, although you see the driver of the car is Toby. And originally I thought that the skateboarder was Toby, but the driver was Toby, so he was running someone else over, who I think was Lucas, and I will explain why in a moment. So Toby being the driver kind of looks bad, and then it kind of looks good if you think about it. My theory with Toby is that he is playing double agent. I believe that he is trying to kind of be a part of the A-team to in turn help the girls so that he can like get the inside information, know what's coming before they do, and kind of protect them while appearing to be on the inside to the bad guys. So that would still make sense if the skateboarder was a bad person, like he was trying to run over someone from the A-team, which makes sense if he was a good guy. However, it would definitely make sense if he was a bad guy, if he was running over someone good. And the skateboarder is definitely male, and I say that just because I watched the episode twice, and it just is obviously a guy, the way that they're skateboarding. If it ends up being a girl, then that's just dumb, because it was obviously a guy that was skateboarding. At first I thought, oh, it could be Mona, because we know that she's, you know, part of it, but then meanwhile Mona is hovering over Hannah's body as she sleeps, which is creepy on a lot of different levels, because, you know, she just up and left the mental hospital. They just let her out, no big deal, and she's going back to school like everything's fine. That's apparently how things work, I guess, in this town. So I do think it's Lucas. Now Lucas has been so creepy, super creepy last season. I was kind of sure that he was bad. I'm looking for the stab wound, and then you're wondering who got hurt on the skateboard, who Toby was chasing down. Later in the episode you see Lucas limping into Hannah's house. Hannah asks him about it, and he says he was in a skateboarding accident. So I do think that was Lucas. So Toby is trying to run over Lucas for some reason. Like I said, could go either way. Could be good, could be bad. So I really don't know at this point. I still like to say that Toby is a good guy. and Lucas is a bad guy. But then when Lucas went to Hannah's house, when they were having that conversation, they were talking about Mona, and Lucas seemed really kind of scared. He seemed kind of like his old self, like when him and Hannah were good friends. He seemed really genuine to her. And he said, you know, well, Mona's been sneaking out of Radley. This isn't her first time out, you know. She's been sneaking out the whole time. And Hannah was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I wish I could tell you more, but I can't. So I felt kind of almost like Toby or Lucas was good. So it's just kind of hard to say. But I do definitely think he's a skateboarder. Maybe Toby is bad and Lucas is good and he's trying to get out or something. And, you know, Toby, Lucas, and Mona are definitely part of it. And if that's true, and then Lucas is trying to get out, so look, Toby's like running. Anyways, I don't know, I could talk about that forever, and that's just one part of the show. We've got a lot to talk about. So later in the episode, speaking of Mona and Hannah and everything, I just remembered this, but Hannah was talking to the girls, and she said, I think that Mona was on the Halloween train that night. If you remember, Hannah kind of pulled the mask, or pulled, yeah, one of the masks off the person, and it looked like they had blonde hair, like maybe a wig. But then it showed Mona during the Halloween train episode, during the party, she was in the hospital bed. So I don't think she could have gotten on the train. Maybe she could have snuck out if it was a normal party, but I don't think she could have snuck out and gotten on a train like towns over and then gotten back. So I just don't think that was the case. I don't think Mona was on there, and if she was, I'm not sure why they would have shown her in the hospital bed. Again, she's just back in school, no big deal. But another big story that's going on is the whole Meredith, Byron, Aria, Allie thing. Byron is Aria's dad. Meredith is the young-looking blonde girl who's the teacher that her dad had the affair with. And one of the things kind of early on that Allie had on Aria was that she knew that her dad was having the affair. And it was something that Aria, you know, didn't want to get out, obviously. Her dad was like a prominent like teacher, and he didn't want to lose his job. He had a good position at the university and everything. So through flashbacks and everything, you kind of see that Allie was blackmailing him. With money. Like, she was wanting the dad to kind of pay her off, or else she was going to tell people he would lose his job, his family, and so yeah, she was just kind of, you know, blackmailing him, getting money out of him you know, and then she would keep quiet. And if you remember in the Halloween episode, there was a big flashback when Spencer and Garrett were talking on the train. That's another story. But Garrett was telling Spencer about more that happened the night that Allie died. And I talked about this in that previous episode, so you may want to watch that before you watch this one if you're unsure. Because I'm not going to really go into much detail. But basically, Byron, Aria's dad, was there talking to Allie the night she died. And in all of these flashbacks that happened in last night's episode, the premiere, it kind of puts that more together. Like, why was Byron there? Well, when they were talking in the flashback from last night, it was a flashback in Byron's office, and Allie was in there, and she was saying, you know, she had, I believe, Meredith's diary. She was like, I'm going to go public with this, like, I will tell people about this, you'll lose your job, your family, whatever. She wanted a lot of money from him, and she tells Byron, she was like, you know, I'm going to go see my Nana this weekend, I'll be back on Labor Day weekend, you have until then. And Labor Day weekend, of course, is when she died, when she was killed, which is still a big mystery. And what the show kind of centers around. And so that's why I guess they were meeting and why they were having that conversation. So you don't know really what happened there. You do know, though, that now Byron has a motive to have possibly killed Allie, but who knows? I think that kind of seems a little too easy. But again, it's just another person with a motive to want her dead. Another super creepy thing that happens, the school janitor. They're at school, they see the janitor, and I believe it was Emily that kind of had the... maybe it was I don't remember who it was, but anyways, she put it together and realized that that was the guy from the creepy motel that they went to, I believe, last season or a couple seasons back, when they knew that Allie had been dressing up as a different person, like she was dressed up as the Vivian Darkbloom character, which I don't even know. But they knew that she had been going to this hotel, or motel, like little, really legit looked like the hotel from Psycho. And so they went there, and then they later, I believe that's where Mona's or whoever's little hideout was. My theory still is, and I've said this before, is that much like the books, if you don't want to hear a spoiler, then don't listen to this. If you're reading the books and you haven't gotten through book 8, but book 8 came out a long time ago. So not really a spoiler, but regardless. I still think that it is the twin, much like it is the book. I think it's Allie's twin. And I believe that that is ultimately the person that's pulling all the strings, because when Mona went into that, the kind of like headquarters or whatever for A, she was kind of looking around like she'd never seen it before. But I know that maybe she had been there and all that. I don't know. But anyways, that was at that hotel, or that was at that little motel, and that is where they knew the guy from. He was the guy working the counter, and now he's the school janitor. So they go down there and they see the mask and a lot of things that they believe to be Mona's. And he's listening to this really creepy, like country kind of like love song, like you know, really sappy, like, you know, love song. And then he's writing in this diary, and it leads me to believe that he's a little crazy and obsessed with someone, and I believe it's Mona, because now all of a sudden he's working at the school. Who knows? I don't know, but he's writing in this diary. Later the girls go down to get the diary, and Spencer says, oh, it looks like he's writing a note to Mona. Like maybe he was writing something to her. I don't know if it said Mona. I didn't see, but I know that it was his handwriting, and he was writing something to her in this diary that he believed to be hers. But then Spencer said, no, that's not Mona's diary. That's Allie's. I saw it in her room. Then they flipped back, and it was an account of, like, basically what had happened between Meredith and Byron, talking about the affair and everything. So then they realized it's Meredith's diary. That's what Allie had on her. That was kind of like the blackmail material. So the school janitor has it, which is awkward. Aria rips out those pages that talk about the affair, leaves it in the office, and they have a little run-in, and it's intense. And then later in the episode, which isn't really something like super interesting that happens, but Meredith ends up in a shed that catches on fire. She doesn't die or anything. I believe she's in the hospital at the end. But Byron kind of accuses Aria and her friends of doing it, because someone did leave a note to Meredith saying to go into that shed knowing that she was going to be burned. So, I don't know, that was a little weird. They didn't really, not a whole lot came from that. Another storyline that was happening, I swear I'm wrapping this up, that wasn't interesting at all, I don't think is interesting at all, that was going on last season 2 is Ezra's son with Alex Mack. I call her because it's the girl that used to play in The Secret World of Alex Mack. She's the mom. But Aria knows that he has the child with her, but, and then she knows that Aria knows, but she doesn't want Aria to tell him. And then, you know, that happened again in this episode, you know, like A kind of sent all the baby stuff outside of Ezra's apartment, to, you know, so that Aria would see it, and said that, you know, like, you need to tell him, I will, blah, blah, blah. Just not that interesting. I mean, maybe something big's gonna come of that later. It's just not, like, yet at least pertinent to the whole big picture of the storyline, and it's just not that interesting to me right now. Another thing, apparently now Mona's on Twitter, and she's tweeting during the episode little, you know, code things, which she just needs to spit it out. It wasn't anything great anyways. It was basically just directing us to a website to watch more of her video. In the episode, she had sent this video that, you know, looked very like she had just filmed it herself, and sent it around to the school. It was basically just her saying her side of the story, how much she's changed and all this stuff. They showed Hannah washing it a little bit throughout the show, but in the tweets that Mona was tweeting that was showing up on the screen, and then if you followed that Twitter account, you could read it on your Twitter. You could take the first letter of each word, put it together, and it said, like, do you want to see more of my video? Go to this website. So I was talking to some people on Twitter, and I was feeling a lot like Ralphie on A Christmas Story when he, like, gets, you know, he's, like, trying to decode the thing, and it says Ovaltine, and you're just so disappointed. And I'm just like, really? She's telling us she's promoting the ABC Family website? Like, I just thought that was so dumb. But whatever, I went and watched it, shamefully. And it wasn't anything special. At the end, she kind of, the camera cut off, and she was talking to someone, like it went black, and she was talking to the person who was allegedly filming the video, and she was saying, you know, we're in this together, and you wanted me to do this, you're my friend, right? You don't know who she's talking to, but at the end of the episode, she is talking to Jason, which is Allie's brother, and she is bandaging up what looks like to be a very disgusting stab wound on his side. So we know that Mona and Jason are friends. When Aria was being pushed off of the train, it sounded like a guy and a girl, although I don't think Mona was on the train. I think it was Jenna. I think it was Jenna. I think it was Jenna and Jason. I don't know for sure. I don't know why they would have shown Mona in her bed. It wasn't like just an outline. They showed Mona in her bed during that episode, so I don't think she was on the train. but she was helping Jason bandage up his side. So, like Pretty Little Liars is famous for doing, they'll show you something, make it look like one way, and then it's totally another way. So maybe Mona and Jason are just friends. Maybe Mona's not even bad. You just don't know. I think Mona is legit crazy, but I think that someone else is pulling the strings, and because she is kind of crazy, she's not really so evil. She's just being very manipulated by this other person, because she is probably easily manipulated. I don't know. And I almost forgot the last thing, when the hooded person comes and is tampering with someone's bike, and then this poor kid that you've never seen before drives off and crashes on this bike that the guy's like unwheeled. And I was like, what in the world is that? But then when I watched it the second time, toward the beginning of the episode, it shows Emily chaining up her bike, and it kind of made a big deal about showing her chaining up the bike, like really showing, hey, you know, Emily's got a bike. It was just kind of awkward. Showed her chaining up the bike to what looked like that same area. So maybe the hooded person was tampering with the bike and thought that he was tampering with Emily's bike, but it ended up being this other kid. Maybe that's what happened, I'm not sure, but that's really the only thing that makes sense to me, because I don't know who that kid was, and I don't think there would be a reason for that to happen. I mean, no matter how you look at it, you just don't tamper with someone's bike. That's just dirty, no matter what's going on. But yeah, so the episode was really good. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. It's going to be crazy, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and if you watched the video or you watched the episode last night, please discuss your thoughts in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And as far as these videos go, I'm definitely not going to post a reaction to every single episode each week. Maybe every other week, maybe once a month, I'm not sure. But this was the premiere and a lot of stuff happened. So, but I will try to live tweet during every single episode. So if you guys are on Twitter, follow me. My information is in the more info below. So definitely talk with me during the Pretty Little Liars episodes. I love doing that with you all. So hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you all very soon.